Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Oisemuzeme and I really want to appreciate you guys for subscribing to my YouTube channel from my previous video. Like that video gave me a lot of subscribers. I really do appreciate. Thank you so much guys. So now I'm waiting. If you're watching this video and you've not subscribed, kindly subscribe to my channel. Thank you. So in today's video, I'll show you how I made this bralette. It's an African print and I'll be showing you the measurement that you just grab my taper. So I started off by taking my bralette length from this point to this point. Then I took my bust width, just this, and that was all. So I'll show you how I manipulated this measurement or just this random measurement. I manipulated it into this beautiful bralette. So if you want to see it, kindly watch to the end of this video and I'll see you on my cutting table. So guys, I was starting with this A4 paper that I have at home. So I'll measure 1.5 inch downward from the edge of the paper just to serve as a guideline. We're going to mark in an horizontal line there. So I'm just going to rule that in. I'm going to rule that line. So that's going to serve as a reference line, as our first reference line. So next we'll be doing now is to take our bralette measurement. Mine, I showed you how to take it at the beginning of the video. Mine is 7 inches. So I'm just taking 7 inches as you can see me do. Marking 7 inches, and that's going to serve as our second reference line. They are both horizontal lines. So now I'm just going to rule that in, and the next thing I'll be doing now is to just have another line. So we're going to have space, which is going to make sense. So my space I'll be working with now, I just took in 2.5 inches because that's sufficient for what I'm working with. And my paper is not very big, so I'm just managing what I have. I'll still have more space, but I just wanted also to have space for seam allowance and other things when it's needed. So I'm just going to rule that vertical line downwards. So that's what you see me do. So I'm just going to rule that downward. So now we have 3 reference lines. So the next thing I'll be doing is to take my cup measurement for our bralette. So I'll start by dividing our cup. We took our bust round, so I'll be dividing it by 2 because we're working with 2 of these. So I'll just divide that by 2 and just rule what I have there. Mine is 3.25, so I'll just rule that line, that slant line from that edge down to where we took our half cup measurement. So I'm just going to do that. So we are not done yet, but it's already looking like what we want to look. So the next thing I'm doing is to divide this line by 2. So it is 8 inches, mine is 8 inches, and I'll divide it by 2, which is 4 inches, and I'll go outward by 0.75 inch just to give me extra coverage. You can make your 0.5 inch depending on how much cover you want. So I'm just going to do mine at 0.75 inch and just rule that line and connect all the lines together. It is not a straight line, so just take your time to make sure they are well connected. Now I'm blending in the lines very well to prevent sharp edges. So I'll just use my hand to like blend it. I'm exchanging the hands I'm using, yeah, you know. So the next thing I'll be doing now is to take my dart measurement. So I measured from where I wanted. I showed you guys in the beginning of the video. So that's my nipple point. Mine is 5 inches. So from that point I'll then go out by 0.5 inch. So from there I'm going to connect it again. That is going to serve as our dart. So I'm just going to connect that line or connect those points together from that to the nipple point, then downwards. So we are going to have it that, and we are going to like have a copy finish when we sew both triangles or both pieces together, which is going to make sense when we start sewing. So I'm just blending in those lines, and now the next thing I'm doing now is to trace what we have on another piece of paper because we're using 2 of these. So I just trace that, and I'm using my tracing wheel to trace. So I just trace. If you don't have this, it's nice if you invest in one. It's really important, and it just makes life easier for you because you're able to just trace marks and you don't have to start looking downwards to copy marks, if that makes sense. So I'm done tracing, and here this is my project work, but I don't need it anymore. So the next thing I'll be doing is just making those lines visible. The lines we traced, I'm just making them very visible. So I started by just doing the lower part, just make it visible. So guys, if you've watched to this point and you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please, what are you waiting for? please subscribe to my channel. Let's grow this channel to 500 subscribers before the end of August. Please do that for your girl. Why I bring value to you, all you have to do is just subscribe, like, and also leave a comment, and I'll respond. Just do those things for me and I'll bring value. Even if you don't, I'll still bring value, because it's not about the number. I just want to share value. So I just continue marking my marks, and that's all I did. All the lines we traced, I'm making them visible. So we're going to like work on it, because the two pieces, they are alike now, but we're going to modify them into two different things. Just watch. Not totally different, but well, they are not the same. So I'm going to mark this as number 1 and mark this as number 2, because they are not the same. So I'll mark this as 1 and 2. So now I'll be keeping 2 to work on 1. So now what we're doing next is to tighten the one that is on our chest, just to prevent gaping. So I'm going to look for the midpoint again, like we did initially, and I'll just rule a slant line. This is going to tighten that part, so it won't be like a gaping. I'm just marking the line to just make sure that it is correct. So I'll just rule that a slant line, not a straight line. It's going to act as a small dot, a very tiny dot, but just watch closely. So I'm going to just go up from that place we marked, and I'll go up by 0.25 inch. You don't need to take too much. 0.5 inch is okay. So now I'm going to mark that, and you see what I'll do now. So now I'm just going to do that as a dot, cover it up, yes, then use my tape or your masking tape to tape that down. Don't be scared. We are going to blend. If it's like not joining together, the lines are not more joining together, we're going to blend it in. That's not a problem. So now I'm going to use my masking tape or my sellotape to just tape that in place. And the next thing I'll be doing is to blend our marks together, because they are no more blending, so we'll just blend that in. So that's what I'll do. I blend that in, and we have our tightened cup, and that is all for okay. Next will be nice to just from that point we'll go up by 0.25 inch again and just make it rounded with the curved part of our pattern master. Just watch. This video is self-explanatory enough, but I'll do my best by talking. So I'm done with number 1, and what I'll be doing is to add seam allowance round. I'm using a very tiny seam allowance because my fabric is very tiny and I can work with tiny seam allowance. I prefer tiny because I always trim down my seam allowance. I'm like, there's no point adding so much seam allowance if I know I'm going to trim that at the end of the day. So I'm just using my seam allowance of 0.25, which is sufficient for me. It works for me. So I'll do that on every side, and I'll keep marking my seam allowance. I'll just keep marking my seam allowance round it, just to, let's mark my seam allowance round, and I'll just mark at the top to make sure you put the allowance everywhere, and at the bottom part also, so you won't have shortage of fabric. Fabric, because I'm marking on my pattern, and that's what I'm marking on my pattern that I'm going to like cut on my fabric. I'm just adding seam allowance. I don't have to go through the steps of adding seam allowance on fabric. If it makes sense, I understand. So what I'll be doing now is to connect all seam allowance, all the broken lines. We're just connecting everything together. I'm connecting everything together, and I'll be doing that also. Please subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. Thank you. Please subscribe to my channel, please. I'm begging. Thank you. I'm begging. God, I beg. So guys, I'm just marking, and that is all I'm doing. Just seam allowance, nothing serious. Again, you don't have to use the seam allowance I'm using. You can use more if you want to, but me, I can work with very tiny seam allowance, and I'll be good. And now working on the second part of our pattern paper. So I'm just going to write that there just to tell me that okay, that is that point. You can also make notches at that point. Very, very, very important. So I'll just keep number 1 aside since we are done with that. So now on the part that we did not write that, I'll be going up by 0.5 and I'll just mark that. That is all the modification I'm doing for the second one. So the second one is the one that is going to go outward of our chest, and the number 1 is one that's going to go into our chest. That's going to make sense soon. So I just marked that. Now I'm marking my seam allowance round like I did for number 1. You can see that they are both different. So the part that I wrote that on is the part that will be joining. We'll be joining both that parts together. So I just wanted to like make a sign there, so I know, okay, this is for my dad, even though they don't really look alike, but they kind of do slightly. So I'm just going to mark 0.25 and I'll mark that round. Just mark that round, as you can see me do. So I'm using the same seam allowance, and that is all. Then I'll just connect all my broken lines together. I'm connecting my broken lines. Connecting my broken lines. Hair bralette is not very hard. It's nothing serious. You just have to get it right. You just have to get your measurement right. And when you get the measurement right, when you follow this process, you'll be fine. It's not really hard. It's not even hard. So now, next thing I'll be doing is to just cut. We are done with the cups. So after cutting, working on the band of our bralette. Working on the band of our bralette. Working on the band of our bralette, and I'm just going to trim that down, and yeah, I'll do the same thing for the second one. Trim that down, and yeah, we're going to have 2 cups. Again, if you've watched this point, what are you waiting for? Kindly subscribe. Thank you so much. Because I know there's a lot of people watch my video but they don't subscribe. So please subscribe while I bring value again and again. Thank you so much, my friends. So I'll just trim that down. And honestly, it's a big flex making your own clothes, like a very big flex. So that is what we have. I'm just going to turn it the right way. See, as I didn't mark right that now, I wouldn't know. So now I'll be joining that together. So this is how I'll be joining it. Won't cut it on fabric. So I'll set those 2 aside. I'm just showing you how to join it. Well, I'm showing you how you're going to join it on fabric. So now I'll be working on our band. So for my band, I'm going to, the way I showed you how to take your measurement, I'm going to divide it by 2, then reduce my back part by 3 inches. So you see me do that now. So I'm just going to mark what I have. I have 11 inches, which is not my full measure. This is half of my bust measurement, like the way I showed you how to take your band measurement. This is half of it. So I'll just divide it by half. So the next thing I'll be doing now is to measure my front. Like this half that I've divided by again, I'll divide it by another half. I'll divide it by 2 again, if that makes sense. I'll divide it by 2. So now, assuming my band measurement is 29, I'll divide 29 by 2, then remove about 3 inches from what I divide by 2 to give me my actual measurement. So now the front, as you can see, so now I just showed you what I did now. Mine is 26, so I divide 26 by 2, that's 13. 13 divided by 2, that's 6.5. So I'm just going to take 6.5, which is going to serve as my front. So and the other side is going to serve as the back, because we'll be using loops at the back, so we need to take out some measurements. So I'm just going to rule that in. I'm going to rule the line. So we have the front now and we have the back part both divided into, because we're cutting this pattern paper on a fold. So I'm taking my band measurement of 1.25 inch. My band is not very big, so I'll just be using 1.5 inch here. 1.5 inch. So I'm going to rule that again to just form another horizontal line. So now we have a straight line, but it's not meant to be a straight line. We have to add some twist. So the next thing I'll be doing now is from that front side, I'll be going up by, let me just write my front. Yes, exactly. So I'm going to write front, and this is going to serve as our front. Our back is smaller than our front because we are using loop at the back. So this is my front and this is my back. We are going to cut this pattern paper on a fold. So now I'm just showing you what my back is. 4.5 inch. It is not the same as my front. It is smaller than my front because of the loop that we are adding. I'm repeating it. I don't even know why, but I just want everybody to get it. So now from that line that we took, we'll be going up by 0.25 inch. We'll be going down by 0.25 inch. So now what I'll be doing now is to connect. What I'll be doing is to connect. So I noticed that wasn't correct. Just watch. So from that line, you'll be going up by 0.25, not downwards. You'll be going upward by 0.25 inch. As you can see, 0.25 inch upward. You can see I came down by 0.5 inch. So that is what we are doing. So I'm just going to mark. See that I'm also learning. I made a mistake and I had to correct myself immediately because I don't want any other person to make that mistake. So now I'm just going to connect the other one downwards as a teeny bit. So we don't have a straight band anymore. Our band is now curved. So now what do? We have to connect it. So the next thing I'll be doing now is the back part. I'll go downwards by 0.5 and go upward by under downward again by 0.5. So I'm just going to connect everything together. So that's all for the band. So they're going to have a band that is sitting pretty with your bralette. So that is also. Next one we did is to add seam allowance round, and I've done that, and I'm going to cut everything on fabric. The both pattern papers, or the 3 pattern papers. We have the band, the first cup, the second cup. Sorry, it's not very clear. My lighting was kind of very poor. So I'm going to iron interfacing on everything, even including the linings. So I'm using a satin to line. So I'm just showing you the interfacing I use. I'm using a cotton. I used a cotton interfacing to I ironed it on it rather. Then we'll be joining together. So make sure you make notches. I did on mine just to like differentiate which cup was which. So I'm not going to make mistakes. So that's what I did. So next thing I'll be doing is to like join them together using our sewing machine. So just take your time to figure them out, and please make sure you make notches so you won't be confused. So as you can see, I'm just figuring mine out. So make sure you make notch. I'm just showing you that this belongs to this because as you can see, I made a notch downward in the lower part for number 2, and number 1 I make the notch on the side. So any of my cup that is number 1 is going to have notch on the side. Any of my cup that is number 2 is going to have notch downward. That was the way I could remember. So that was what I did. So this is how I'll be joining mine, the dart point. So I'll just be using a pin to just secure that in. I'll do that for the first join the first one and do that for the second one also. I'm using the pin to secure. Sorry, it's not in frame. I'm so sorry, but that's what I'm just doing. Just using the pin to like secure it. So I'm just going to sew on that point. That's the point I'll be sewing on. So I'm doing the same thing for the other cup. I'll do the same thing for the lining. So I'm gonna have to like join my sewing along with my sewing machine rather. So after joining, what we'll be doing now is to make notches so it can lay flat, and when we iron it can lay flat. So I'm going to make notch. I'm going to cut before the seam line. Please don't cut after your seam line. You're going to ruin your seam line. You have to like sew it again. So I'm just going to like be very careful. I'll carefully cut, and remember they are all matte. Like the thread is black, the interface is black. So just be very careful. So I'm just trimming my my rope, the rope I'll be using. So I'll be turning it now. So I just pass my pin through one side and just tie. I'm using a needle this time, not a safety pin. So I'll be doing nice. You just use the rope. I'm using this rope to draw it in. So I'm going to take my pin, the side that is the eye of the needle. I'm just going to pass the eye of the needle into this thing we made, into the rope we made. Should I call it the rope? A loop, the loop we made, sure. So I'm just going to like pass it in. I'm not using the sharp side of the needle. I'm using the eye of the needle. So I'm going to like pass that in. So we're going to like, please be very careful. Make sure your thread is doubled. So it's not going to like, when dragging, it's not going to cut. And when dragging, to be very careful. So you're not going to like start afresh. So that's what I'm doing. If you have a loop turner, just use a loop turner directly. Me, I don't have one, and I've not, in my area, I've not gotten where to buy. So anytime I visit Lagos, I'm going to like get one. So I'm just going to like did I just say visit Lagos? So when I go home, finally I'm going to get one rather Jerry. I'm in school, high school in Osun State. So I'm going to like push that in the thread, drag that in, and just try to drag. Take your time, please. Like, this thing is hard. Take your time. Especially being that the loop is very tiny, so just take your time. So I'm using my pencil to just aid me pushing it in, because why not? I don't like stress. So I've gotten it in and I'm just dragging it out. As you can see me do, and it's out. Yay, I'm so happy. So I'm done dragging that out, and that is what we have. So I'm working on the second loop now. I've passed the thread in again. So you can see me do, just passing the thread in. I'm working on the second loop, so I'm just showing you how I did both on camera. So just watch closely, and honestly you get it. So just watch closely and you get it. Just watch closely and you get it. I'm just pulling. I'm just making sure I pull well. So now I'm done with that. So I've gone ahead to like iron my cups, the lining and the fabric. So that's what I'm showing now. So the next video now is to join them together, and I'll show you how I'm going to join them together. So I'm going to put the lining on the actual, like the incorrect order, right guys? So I'm going to put this, I'm checking where I notched, and check the part that I notched for the lining also. So that is, I'm just going to check where I notched, and I found it. So next now, just check for the line also, then place it accurately on it. So you can see I've marked it, and I've gotten to like arc it. So I just place the other part on it also. So I'll be showing you how we'll be sandwiching our loop in between the lining and the actual fabric. So that's what we'll do. So we'll secure that with a pin. So we'll be sewing around, which I'll show you. I'll be demonstrating how I'll be sewing. So I'm just going to like, exactly, I'm just going to like sew this way, on this point down, on both sides. I'm just going to show you how it's like this, and that's how. So when I'm done, I'm going to show you when I'm done on my sewing machine. So I'm done sewing that. I'm going to turn it in to show you what it looks like. So this is where I was done sewing, and next I'm doing now is to trim down that part. so it can lay really flat when we iron. But I don't really like puffy. Whenever I make stuff like that and it's puffy and it's not neat, I'm going to trim that downward and trim that down or reduce the seam allowance on that point so it can lay flat. So I'm just going to trim that down. So you can see I've trimmed it down. So I'm going to turn it inside out to show you what we have. Let me show you what we have. And this is what we have, guys. This is what we have. It's looking really cute. That's for one part and we're turning the other part. So this is the other part. So our bralette is already coming to life. So the next thing we'll be doing is to attach both. We will have to iron this again. Please take to your iron table and iron very well. So I'll show you what it looks like. So I've gone ahead to iron and also secure that point. I'm going to sew it together. So I'm going to mark the midpoint, like make a notch on the midpoint and also make a notch on the midpoint of our band. We're starting with the main fabric band. So make sure you make a notch for your band. So that is it. I already made a notch, the center line. So I'll be matching both centers together. I'll be using a pin to secure that in. I'm going to use my pin to secure that in. And I'll be looking for the middle point. I'll also make the middle point also of the lining. Just the middle point of the lining. So we can just join everything together. So the bralette is going to be in between the lining and the main fabric, just for it to be very neat. I'm going to make sense soon. So I'm going to join that together, as you can see me do. Just going to join that together. So please take your time and please don't injure yourself with your pin. I'm going to mark that and just match. I want my pin to like enter very well without me struggling with it. Because I'm really struggling, but then well, it's entered, thank God. So I'm just going to like show you what I'll do. I'm going to sew. So I just keep pinning. See, the bralette is inside, in between the lining and the main fabric. So I'll just pin that round. Just pin that round and I'll show you. I'm going to be sewing on that line using my seam allowance. I'm going to sew and I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm just going to sew this way. So I'm done sewing, but we need to close the lower parts. How do we close it? I'm going to show you. So I'll start by my rope because I don't want anything holding when I'm sewing. I'll roll that in. I'm going to roll that in, as you can see. Then I would join my main fabric. If your band is bigger than this, it's going to be easier for you, but mine is very tiny. So I'm just going to roll that in and pin, just to make it really neat. I'm going to roll that in and pin. As you can see me do, I'll be pinning this part. Just make sure you're very careful so you don't have to sew on what is inside, because you're going to have to like rip the seam, and that won't be easy. So just be very careful, take your time so you don't pin what is inside and what you are trying to like pin, if that makes sense. You need to like push that in, push that in very well, and also pin. So I'm pinning horizontally because I noticed that my pins are far and I have to like stretch my hands to like pick them. So this is going to like pin more, so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to like pin that in, push it in very well so I can pin. And I push this in. So when we are done, so we just push it out. So you see me do that. I can share everything on camera. I'm not going to keep anything. So as you can see, I'm done pinning. I'll pin that point also. I'm not done yet, so I'm just going to show you what it looks like. And get the pin and pin. So I'm going to sew on the edge using a 0.25 inch seam allowance, my own allowance that I took. So if you took more than that, just use that. So I'm done sewing and this is what we have. So now I'll be using that rope to draw it in. So I'll just be opening this way. Be very careful so you don't like ruin everything that you've done from me. Just very careful, take your time, be patient. It's going to come out. Just be very patient. As you can see, I'm just pulling that backward, pushing it in. So I'm just going to like stop talking so you can just like enjoy watching, because there's not so much to say. I'm just going to like, keep trying to open it. So we are fighting, but it's come out. That's not that it didn't come out. So just take your time. Take your time. Good things take time. Just pulling that out. So the next thing I'll be doing now is to just take that to my ironing table and just iron. And when I'm done ironing, I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm arranging everything very well to just make sure that they are well. Okay, so that's our rope. We didn't catch anything we're not supposed to catch, thank God. So that's the back and that's the front, looking really neat. So what we're doing now is to iron. So I'm gonna head to iron mine, and this is what I have. So pretty. I was now feeling like I should have used another fabric to make it inside, so we can have like a reversible bralette. Well, that will be in future video. It occurred to me, but I need to do something really simple and fast. So next I'll be doing is to add our loop. I'll be using 3 loops. So I'll add the first one and add the third one in between last. So I'm just gathering my pins that I didn't want. So now I'm just going to like push half an inch in, because that was the small amount I took at that point, half an inch in. I'm just going to put that in very well, like it should look really neat. So I'm going to fold my loop into 2, as you can see me do. Then I'm going to put that in. That is all. So I'm going to do that for the upper side and the lower side and leave the middle point. I'm going to do that when I'm done with both sides. So then it's like pin. Just secure it with a pin. Secure that with a pin. And I'll do for the second part also. Fold and secure. Put it in, then secure. So we're going to have a space in between, but we'll fill that up soon. So I'm going to pin. As you can see, so we'll be sewing on that point. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other side also. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. Also, then we'll come back to add the center loop. So I've pinned on the second side. So we still have some loops on the table, so I'm just going to like show you also. So I'm adding my third loop now. So I'm just adding that in between the first and second one. You can see. So we have 3 loops now. So there's a need to like secure that if you have a pin, but I can work with that. So that is. So I'm just going to like make sure they are all aligned. So that's what I'll be doing, and I'm going to sew on that point. I'm making 2 stitch lines there. So that's what you're seeing. I'm just making sure it is correct and it is looking good. So I'll sew on that point, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. So I'm done sewing, and this is what we have. I made 2 stitch just for extra security. I'm just trying to like steady my light very well because I'm just learning this stuff, lightning and all. So yeah, we're getting it. So I'm just lacing it, and it is really looking. So this is what you would have. Tell me this is not cute. Just tell me it is not cute. This is so cute, like so cute. I love it. So thank you. I love it so much. It's so cute. It can be. So guys, thank you so much for watching till this point. I really do appreciate it. And if you successfully watched to this point, you're an OG. Thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe in between the video because it was so valuable that you couldn't subscribe in between the video. Please, I'm waiting again. Kindly subscribe. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate all the effort you guys put into my video. And I'll see you in my next video. And also check out the video on how I made this skirt for the bralette because it's a 2-piece actually. So thank you guys.